Jean Ann Webb has been a volunteer for, I don't know how long, 21 years, and she's narrated over 60 of our books. And you know, we have patrons that tell us not only do they like reading about Kentucky, but they like hearing narrators that talk like they do. And even though Jean Ann's originally from West Virginia, she still talks like we do. So come on up, Jean Ann Webb.
I'm honored to be representing the Kentucky Talking Library volunteers on this, the 50th anniversary.
There you go.
Yes, thank you. I would always want to be heard. The 50th anniversary of the Kentucky Talking Books Library. And by the way, some things she mentioned here, you'll hear me allude to later. Books are a universal way of delivering education, sharing ideas, and just pure enjoyment. To imagine a world without books is unimaginable. Books are a treasure that must be shared, and we are fortunate to have the National Library Service, of which Kentucky Talking Books Library is a cooperating member, that helps share those books. Please don't leave without seeing the video. A lot of this was new to me today, to see the videos and the responses that people had sent. I know that I have seen notes and emails from patrons, but they are all collected right back there. None of them. I'm sorry, what did I do? But not all of them, I'm certain, but lots are. I want to tell you that each of the volunteers we appreciate what we do and that we have the opportunity to do it. And every volunteer here today has his or her own unique story of how they got involved with Kentucky Talking Books and why they continue to do so. I was introduced to Kentucky Talking Books by a fellow teacher. I noticed that every Tuesday, Margaret Freimeyer, a name that might be familiar to some of you, Margaret Freimeyer was always leaving a school right behind the students every Tuesday. And so I asked her, I said, where is it that you're off to every Tuesday? So she told me that she was recording books for the blind. Well, I quizzed her about all of this. I was very interested in it. And I saw what excitement she had about it, and I like to read, and it just seemed like a very rewarding, worthwhile thing to do. So I made the promise to myself that when I retired, I was going to be a part of Kentucky Talking Books. So a few years later, in June, I retired, and in September, I kept the promise to myself and came up here to Kentucky Talking Books Library. I auditioned and was, I don't know if we auditioned to see that we have an appropriate voice. I think that she's alluded to my accent, and they told me when I came, said, well, we're going to be doing some Kentucky books. We want to concentrate on that and Kentucky authors. So I think that even though I am a West Virginian, I think I fit that goal. I helped them meet that goal. A few years after and I did not mention that my first monitor, you may know this name, Paula Armspiker. And I auditioned on one of these reel-to-reel jobs. So here she'd go, and I'd make a mistake. She'd count the numbers and she'd roll that thing back, and here we go again. A few years after I became a part of Kentucky Talking Books, my mother moved from West Virginia to Frankfort. Now, Mother would never have been described as an avid reader, but she was an avid listener. Virginia has alluded to that with her father. Mother did not choose to hear any other books except the ones that I had recorded. And it was a thorough enjoyment to her, and to me, of course, as well. I have another very close friend that's with us today, and she's a longtime patron of Kentucky Talking Books and all the services that are offered here. Now, she chooses to listen to other people, but I forgive her that. I want to find my place here because I've worked real hard on trying to get everything said here that they asked me to do. Do check, I talked about the reel-to-reel. Do not leave without seeing these old players back here. And they've also said how it's so different to record now. I started with the reel-to-reel, and I don't know that record is kind of an outdated term for what I do now. You go in and it's all computer technology, and I read from an iPad. It's a long way from a reel-to-reel. I have chosen to be a narrator, but there are other people in this process as well. Every reader has to have a monitor. I mentioned at least one of mine. I don't go through them so much. That just happens that they move on to other jobs. But it has to have a monitor, and then every book must be proofread. And then the book goes through lots of other processes by the staff before they get out to our patrons. And our patrons are why we do this. When you see the video, we just get those notices or letters, emails from grateful patrons and their families as to what a wonderful part of their lives these books have become. It is a worthwhile time, a way to use my time. I've never regretted a minute that I've spent here recording the books. Now, they asked me to say why I continue. Well, I found that the need is exactly the same as it was for this service when I came in and Paula and I did our first work together. The need is still there, and I still enjoy it. And you know, when you come here every day, every week, for 21 years, you kind of get acquainted with all those folks and the staff, and they've become a part of my life as well. And I always put read in my calendar every month, so I'll be here to be a part of the Kentucky Talking Books Library. Thank you.